Breaking just a few moments ago, as we were reporting, the IDF says it confirmed that it struck an ambulance. IDF International spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus joining us now. Thank you very much, Colonel, for joining us. What can you tell us about the ambulance? Who was in it?
That there were terrorists in it, inside a combat zone, close to our troops, and that our troops saw terrorists getting into it and using it in order to get from one place to another on the battlefield. And it's not the first time, and it's not the 100th time that Hamas operatives abuse everything that is supposed to be protected in a war zone. They use hospitals, they use mosques, UN facilities, infirmaries, clinics, churches, everything, including ambulances. And according to international law, if there is a perceived threat and danger, and if combatants are making use of an ambulance in order to fight, that specific ambulance in that specific incident loses its special protection and is a legitimate target. So there shouldn't be any outcry. There shouldn't be any shock reporting. The shock reporting should be about the fact that Hamas, again, abuses everything that is supposed to be holy, even on the battlefield.
Okay, so you have, beyond this particular ambulance, you have information that you are sharing with intelligence agencies that demonstrates that Hamas' plan was to use ambulances as a method of operation to transfer some of their terror operatives. Is that correct, that there could be more ambulances carrying Hamas terrorists?
Almost. The difference being not plan, but execution. This is a practice. This is an established practice. And for those of the viewers who have been around and saw the war in 2014, we showed video footage of it back then, of Hamas operatives, armed operatives getting into ambulances, going from one place to another, using them as their taxis on the battlefield. What we're seeing now is exactly that. We know, and we have shared with different intel organizations, and we will expose to the world, to those that are intellectually honest enough to listen, that Hamas uses ambulances as their ways of getting around the battlefield without being exposed to threat. We will show pictures of it and maybe even video. And the bottom line here, that this is a common denominator. Hamas abuses everything, the civilians, everything that is supposed to be protected, schools, UN facilities, mosques and hospitals. The Shifa hospital is basically a big military compound controlled by Hamas. And that is what it should be condemned unequivocally, from the UN offices in New York all the way down to World Health Organization and the Red Crescent and the Red Cross. They are violating the sanctity and the special status and protection which is supposed to be provided to ambulances on the battlefield, which we respect. But that protection is void in specific cases when we see and perceive a threat and when we see that they're abusing it.
Real quick, I want to ask you about the regional conflict and the possibility this is going to escalate further in the region. But do you know specifically how many Hamas terrorists, how many operatives were killed in that particular strike, Colonel?
There were a few in the car. We're working on names, affiliation, and what they were doing and what they were busy fighting. But it is clear to us that they were certain terrorists, 100% sure that they were terrorists and they were combatants on the battlefield, which our troops saw getting in to that ambulance and then speeding, and they perceived a threat. They understood that there was a threat, and therefore that ambulance was targeted.
Colonel, a final question to you and the Hezbollah chief, warning that this conflict could escalate into a full-blown regional war, saying, quote, there's concern that this may escalate even further and turn into a full war. All options are on the table. What do you say to that?
Well, I think that what he also said was that this is a Palestinian issue, which perhaps can be translated to the fact that he doesn't want to go all in, which I think is a wise thing for Lebanon. And anybody that cares about the future of Lebanon should really stick to that and understand that Lebanon and Hezbollah have no business in getting into a war because of the ISIS lookalikes of Gaza. They attacked us. We are responding to that, and now Hezbollah is thinking about dragging Lebanon and the region into war. That would be a big mistake. And we have said very clearly, we are prepared to defend ourselves. We are defending ourselves in the south against Hamas aggression. Yes, Hezbollah is a big and powerful enemy. If they attack us, that will be more difficult, but we are prepared, committed, and capable of defending ourselves against them. And at the end of the day, Hezbollah and Lebanon will pay a very heavy price if they aggress against us.
Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus, we appreciate you joining us, spokesperson for the IDF.
Thank you for having me.
All right.